Hi, and welcome to the 77th edition of Keen Minds, where we cover NBC's The Blacklist. These episodes were Season 6, Episodes 13 and 14, Robert Vesco, and the Osterman Umbrella Company. I'm Jen, aka Takata Saiko.
I'm Tessa.
And we have a very special guest for this particular podcast. Our resident Samar guru.
Hello!
It's Whimsyandsomething!
Yay!
Hi, Whimsy.
Hello.
So big episode, but before we go into the most interesting stuff of the episode, which was the Samar stuff, and I can see Whimsy starting to cry there. I think we should cover the fun stuff. First of all, Red has a party. And that was a classy party.
And I loved how many cops he had there. I'm sitting there going, how did you get arrested? How did someone not just accidentally leave a lock undone? Like, how did that... And that's probably what Liz was banking on. Like, this whole thing. That's probably what she was banking on, was he would have a contact to get him out.
And they had a lot of decoration on the chest.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, he's buddies with Cooper, and he's got a bucket load.
Yeah. So this was fun, and it was all out. I mean, it was. And can I say what a perfect line for because they got this whole thing with Glenn and the shrimp. So this time I loved it that it brought back his shrimp. We're saying we're out of shrimp, and there was a shrimp platter before. It was a lot of fun.
And sweet Vontae, get that man a girlfriend.
The waitress.
I love Vontae. I think he's just kind of gotten adopted by Red's crew, and I just hope that they protect him. If they're going to throw him back into a life of crime, at least protect that kid.
I think he looks like the nerdy kind, so maybe he will eventually be trained to be the resident nerd. I'm hoping.
Maybe he'll be Red's version of Aram down the track.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I think he's lost a Rom.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
And he's so cute.
No, he's adorable. Yeah. I want Vontae to stay forever. I love Vontae. He is an A+ addition.
And then, we go from that party. By the way, can we also talk about Glenn with the two glamorous girls while they sip hair for dog?
Oh, I didn't even know what to do with that. But, hey, he always... You think with Glenn that it's all him just going at it and making stuff up and all these women here and there. And no, apparently he's got something.
He's got something. That's
sure
for sure.
What.
Yep. But he got it. And then I am fascinated that they brought... a real figure to do the heist. Vesco is absolutely the perfect guy to have mentor Red. And I noticed something very interesting with another older man who had a similar kind of contentious but survival relationship with it, which is Alan Fitch, and they both call him Ray.
I noticed that, yeah. That was one thing I keyed in on in the middle of the episode, and I meant to ask you about it. So it's the perfect time that with so few people call him Ray, which seems like a very natural go-to nickname. And so, but I don't think we've heard anybody else besides Fitch. And now,
Maltz.
Who else?
Maltz. Abraham Maltz.
Okay.
The surgeon. He calls him Ray. He calls him Red, but he also calls him Ray.
Okay.
So it's interesting that the people who seem to call him Ray all come from a time in his life rather early on. And this is interesting because this is not before 1991. So I think that those who keep clinging onto Red is not the Raymond Reddington from Before the Fire. They got to start letting go of that. Evidence is
nicknames
mounting.
do change over the years.
Yeah.
I mean, I know people who knew me when I was much younger call me different nicknames to what people call me now.
Yeah, mine's like just shorter.
Yeah.
I mean, if they could just not call me anything, they probably would.
I went from Jennifer to Jenny to Jen, and the joke is the next one will just be Jay.
J.
Which is funny because I sign all of my writing stuff that I do outside of fan fiction with my first initial, middle initial, and then my last name.
Yep.
So there we go. Just shorten it as short as you can get it. That's how nicknames work.
Let's go into the heist. The planning of the heist was so much fun. First, the way they got Tesco. Vesco was the best. This is classic Red. He got the task force to go after him.
Keep going.
He got the task force to go after him, and at the same time, he's waiting right there. So this is, we've had the same things done by Red. That's how he got Ivan. That's how he get all the people. He gets the police to go after the people, and then he just is waiting right there to save them.
So I was going to say something about
Vesco, the way he was being, the way they caught him.
Yes, I had something, and I've forgotten it now.
I was waiting till we mentioned the cat and the whole you wouldn't kill the cat, but you would take the tours.
So
there was that the whole bit about the fact that obviously he knew that Red is not capable or willing of hurting animals, but also I found it interesting that the little apartment that Vesco had reminded me a lot of Red's little apartment that we saw in the next episode. That weird little apartment that Liz called, that's been there since season 2. And, by the way, the cat's alive, which is good. But there were a lot of parallels there between the apartment and the cat and all of that. And me ending the episode. A simple life. And me ending the episode going, I wonder if that cat's still alive. Who took care of the cat? He was about to leave the town, leave town. Leave the poor cat there.
I'm sure he had one of his pals who picked up the cat after he was gone and brought him to him. These people got everything. They say they had the entire cops in his pocket. I found it interesting that as you mentioned, that apartment, that quiet life and Red's quiet life, I think that they correspond to the same kind of period in when they're going for a quieter life.
Yeah.
Like Liz Alaska cabin.
Yeah. I think that Red would enjoy a quieter life if he didn't still have whatever war he believes is coming on his doorstep. I think that he feels the extreme need to have the copious amounts of money, for Liz, for himself, for this war that he's gearing up to fight. I think it's with the Cabal. Everything you said, you think it's with the Cabal. Whimsy, do you think it's with the Cabal?
At this point, I have gone back and forth on the Cabal so many times, I don't even remember where I'm at anymore.
A little bit of whiplash.
Yeah.
You get that with this show.
Every other episode, I think it might be, and also it might not be. I'm just gonna wait and see now.
That's fair.
You gotta stay the course. You gotta believe what you believe, and just stay the course.
What was it? What was it Megan said a while back? Just enjoy the ride. It's a wild ride.
Until this season, they haven't been mentioned in so long.
That's usually when they pop back up, though. Because that's what they did with McCready, is that he just dropped off the face of the planet, and everyone's going, well, I say everyone, Tom fans were over here going, shouldn't he have come back up by now if they're, master spies, and he put all of his resources into finding Tom, and he's just gone, and, oh, there he is.
Yeah.
Every so often there's a reference to something from ages and ages ago.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's interesting the way they do it.
It goes, I personally think it goes back to Bokenkamp being a feature writer, that he writes this as a feature writer would versus a TV writer, and I think that's why we have these threads that take forever to get back to.
Now, ladies, it's time to go into Rudiger. And
I love Rudiger.
Yes. I'm so glad he's back.
And regularly, too. He's been back fairly regularly now.
Yes,
Rudiger.
And he was absolutely hilarious. He started bawling about wanting to be this opera singer, and everybody wanted to be a football player.
He was such a sad drunk.
Oh my God! Instead of the happy one, it was just so much fun.
I'm just picturing him now because, I mean, we met him with Gina. And I'm just picturing him with various other people he's worked with, Gina included, like having these sob stories with his vodka or schnapps or whatever he's drinking. And the other person
but
going...
we have seen him in rehab, too.
Oh, he did go to rehab. It didn't
went
stick.
to rehab when he crashed. Of course not. When he crashed at daughter's Passat, and then it was something else, and now he's like totally drunk, bawling about his dream of being a tenor.
Not a race car driver.
I loved the line of born with schnapps in one hand and a detonator in another.
It was absolutely perfect. I mean, that heist was brief. Not much to discuss because it was just like it was a lot of the stuff that Red was talking in season 5. A treasure hunt, clues. Their music this time in the clues, and their things that were hidden that were supposed to be lost. So we're going back in the same thing. And if we go and look at Cape May, it starts to have a little bit of the feel of that. Because there was also a treasure hunt.
I have a question for you. For both of you. Do you think that Red really did get duped, or do you think that he just had Vesco take a portion of it elsewhere? Like, take his portion elsewhere, and because he was on the phone when Vesco left and said there's been a change of plans. And then he seemed very chill about having someone pull one over on him. His ego being bruised is never really a good thing with him, and yet he was telling Liz to take out the phone, take a photo, remember this day. Almost like the lady doth protest a little too much there.
I think on the other hand, I mean, it could be. I'm not discounting it. I think it could be. But on the other hand, I think that Red credits the fact that he doesn't trust anyone. And notice the way he said it. I don't trust anyone. That means that not even Dembe knows everything. Mm-hmm. And I think that survival is something more valuable than the gold. And he got the gold. It is possible.
It was taken from him.
Yeah.
I must admit, when I first watched it, I thought he had been genuinely swindled, but that's more because I was so focused on everything else happening in the episode that I wasn't entirely paying attention to the Vesco thing.
On my first watch, I sat there when that hug happened. I went, "Oh, Red, you poor dumb man.
Yeah,
you're done."
But I did think it was weird.
Yeah, my rewatch felt more like it was one of those. Because Red's always 5 steps ahead of everybody. And so, I mean, it's possible that he really did, that Vesco's just that much better than him, but...
Also, what are the chances that actually Dembe comes in, that Glenn gives him the key when Vesco is there? I mean, it is possible that he had taken his cut, left the other stuff, so that he can tell to the FBI, I haven't stolen a thing. See? I didn't steal anything. It was just stolen from me. It's a possibility.
I think
it is something I'd like to see addressed later.
Yeah. And I mean, I figure if we do see it addressed, then yes. And otherwise, we can just assume that he really did get one pulled over on him. And so it's one of those things.
It was a little too much for him to have the key on his pocket. I mean, really? That was almost like inviting, like, hey, here, this is where you take your key. Now you take the truck, and now you pull one over me again. And meanwhile, I got my gold, my part of the gold. For all you know, what Vesco stole is a bunch of painted stuff.
That would be nice. Well, I mean, I assume they were supposed to split it. So, I mean, it could be that he only let him take a portion of it. You know, that the other half, or maybe more than half, he had routed elsewhere, and so Vesco thought that he was...
Yeah, more than half, because he was covering all the expense of the thing.
Yeah.
Maybe it will come back as some part of a larger plan.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, he's always feeling the coffers. I thought it was a very interesting high, fun. I mean, it had everybody, and Glenn going on the stage and saying fire. I mean,
that poor fireman. What would possess you? And then Liz, hey, I know who that is.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I think she's the only person who's ever just called him Mr. Carter. That was fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially after the car ride that she had with him. That in the student, call him Mister is quite a
Oh, I forgot about that. But I mean,
yeah.
he did help her get into the evidence lockup back in season 5.
Oh, they work quite a bit together, and they work pretty good together too.
Yeah.
So I think that covers the heist. It was excellent. I love seeing the entire crew. I love seeing Hetty. I love seeing everybody, even if it was just for a short time. I love seeing them all.
I do
and
too.
the way Red described them all at the start, fresh-faced ones, guys to solve everything, girls to handle the guys.
I loved that line because it's so Hetty. So Hetty. And, okay, we have to talk about Hetty and Rudiger's scene. At the bar.
Yeah.
What was it? Unleash the German or something like that? Cue the German, unleash the German, something along those lines.
Yeah.
And just throwing the drink at her. It was great.
Yeah, Rudiger was really drunk this time. So we know that he's not when things don't make me happy, he's not a good drunk.
No, that's what I said. Such a sad drunk. Such a sad drunk.
Yeah. I think that covers a heist. Anybody has anything else that you want to address? So, do you want to go into Liz and Wrestler? They have very little to do this time.
Yeah. That scene in the library though was kind of fantastic. Poor Bress. He does get painted as the dumb jock sometimes, and that was the line that he hadn't.
Right, that's as many books in high school.
Yeah, and then turn around, we're going to the opera, and I thought it couldn't get more boring. It was great.
There was not a lot of for going on for Liz and Wrestler that is not really directly related to Aram and Samar. I mean, they go to, you guys go do this, you guys go do that Cooper was directing.
Well, to be fair, a lot of times that's what Samar and Aram are doing, so they've never been fantastic about balancing their characters. They typically have one or two in the forefront, and then everybody else is kind of on...
precedes into the background.
Yeah, on, this needs to happen, so go do it.
Yeah, I think before... One of the two things that I forgot that probably do not actually belong in the Samar and Aram stuff is the fact that Red got the pills and he's being on this juicing stuff and healthy foods, and then apparently the pills are for him because Denbeck handed him the pills and he just took one immediately and started taking them.
Yeah. Well,
I'm
back in
still
season...
waiting for the doctor to come back from earlier in the season.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say, back in season 3, because for a very long time, I've wondered if we're going to lose Red in that final episode of the show. If his redemption arc will be dying to save Liz and giving her a chance. But in season 3, when that painting showed up, who we assume, or at least at the time we assumed, was Katarina sending it. I remember thinking at the time, I'm wondering if maybe he was ill. If it was some sort of very lengthy, and I've got some sort of mini meta out there somewhere talking about it, but that maybe he had some sort of degeneration.
You have no idea about it when they said, are you ill? You've no idea. That was when Dr. Was it Rifler or Shaw that asked her? Not Rifle, the other doctor. Yes, the one that was working with Dr. Shaw.
Yeah. No, this was back in season 3 with the painting that I had this thought that, maybe he had some sort of degenerative disease that was slow killing but would eventually take his life. And that theory is coming back around the more information we're getting. It's interesting.
Mm-hmm. Well, it was certainly that thing about the juice and the fruits and the whole thing and the tai chi. Um, so I do wonder if that is something to be said about Red being sick. And somebody was in Reddit was going about. I wonder if that's going to be something like, and that's how they're going to link everything together, like Kirk needing a blood relative. I wonder if this is how we're going to go back. But anyway, well, the one thing that we know is that they're not hormones. So they're Stark was doing things with genetic diseases or with diseases of the motor cortex. Mm-hmm. But also remember that Red was poisoned in 415.
That's true. It might be a continuation of that.
And they said we have no idea of the lasting effects. So
that's a very good point.
Yeah. So we don't know what is going to go there. And the second thing is that there was a very interesting moment about Red and Liz when he gave them the case of the Osterman company. They looked at the picture with Katerina, said that represented the things that she couldn't have, especially after she betrayed the KGB. We now know that probably those people that were coming for her in Cape May in her hallucination were the Osterman umbrella company.
Do you think that's possibly the KGB agent that was in Requiem? The person that broke into her house? Because I don't know if we... I think that Kate called him KGB. I'm not sure that Katerina ever did.
He said he had papers on him and they were speaking in Russian. So I would say that it probably was not. He was probably just KGB. That scene, I've had somebody in Reddit who speaks Russian translate what he could about the scene. And basically is the guy accusing her of being too trusty with something. And that goes downhill from there. That's more or less what the only thing that they could get from it. But there's something I thought about those guys in Cape May. You know, the guy in the Plaid and the other people. Do you guys think that is possible? That those are the umbrella company killers?
Possibly, but I mean, if Red ever saw that, it would take Red seeing that for it to be in his hallucination, though.
Or imagining.
Yeah. Or yeah. I guess since he knows that they were after her, yeah.
And the guy was wearing plaid and like the guy in the fire. And I know, don't laugh.
As she
because
sits
Rami
in
wearing plaid.
Did you see his tie?
Yes, he's been wearing plaid ties since 509. I kid you not. Yeah, it's very interesting. So those are two interesting moments that happened in the episode that I think were worth mentioning until we get to the big stuff.
Okay. I mean, it could be that Russian agents do work for Osterman. I mean, Osterman agents have to have come from somewhere. Mm-hmm. And they operate all over the world. So they've probably all come from different places all over the world. It could have been a KGB agent also working for Osterman at the same time.
Yeah, but that would have been 1985, and they wouldn't have been going after her in 1985 or 86, depending on where Liz was born. I mean, this is probably just closer to 1990 or 1991 when she was being hunted. Basically, Velov came to get her, and I guess when Velov couldn't get her, they got the Osterman company to terminate her. Because obviously, they didn't believe the suicide.
All right, are we ready to move into Samar and Aram?
No, Cooper.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, Cooper.
Whimsy just looked very relieved there.
Yeah, Cooper has been having very, very good parts. He's the one that saves Red. He's the one who says, no, just if there's still a few minutes, we'll still get a chance to. So this is the same thing. He saves Red. He saves Samar. He goes out
to at least anyway.
I mean, he gave it an A+ effort, because you had, I love that line that he had, you know, where the guy calls and says, where is Levi? And he's like, I'm sorry, the FBI wouldn't even know where to start. I guess it's just a what was it, a
non-event.
Non-event, that was it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so now, he can't say Red has committed any crimes. No, he was going to give us the gold, and the gold was stolen. He was, did he kill anybody? Not to my knowledge. Where's Levi? Probably disappeared with Samar.
He could be anywhere.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I tell you, Harry Lennox really killed those scenes. They were great.
He's always on top of his game. I've never seen him off his game.
Yeah. But they were tough scenes because they were short, so there wasn't a lot of go on to really get in the scene. Yet he managed to convey, you know, the seriousness. And I love the way they say, well, you know, if you don't cooperate, you know, basically that cozy relationship is over.
Yeah, well, I mean, he threatened him the same way that he threatened the president. You know, I will go public with this. That's become his new go-to.
Mm-hmm. You just don't mess with Cooper's task force.
No.
They're like his children. You don't mess with them.
Yeah.
He will out you to the entire world. Whatever you have done, Cooper will tell because he knows.
Let me ask you both this: how much do you think Cooper knows about Red? Everything, all, most of it?
I wouldn't think all, but I do think he knows more than it's made to look like he knows, if that makes sense. At the very least, he suspects something's up. He might just not know what exactly.
I don't know. I mean, I've had your theory consistently for a year or two now, that he's known Red for years and years and years. I could go either way. I mean, I could see him having had prior, you know, good relationship with him, you know, have known him very well, but I could also see him not, you know, that he'd only had, you know, a distant sort of knowledge of him.
Interesting. Do you think that they know Red's real name?
I think that I find it difficult to believe that if he had known who Red was, that he would have gone out of his way to run the DNA test and hand it over to Liz. I don't think, and this may be where we disagree, I don't think he's interested in manipulating Liz.
Okay. Whimsy.
I'm with Jen on that. I mean, we see Cooper constantly trying to take Red down a peg when he thinks Red's gone too far. And he's always protecting his task force. I think if he honestly knew that Red wasn't Red, I don't think we would have got this far without Cooper having said something to that effect.
Okay. Now, did you know...
I could be wrong.
Did you realize what you two just did?
Oh no, what did we do?
You basically have completely proven my assumption that what I ask is who Red really is, and I never said that not really Raymond Reddington. I said who Red really is his real identity, but you're assuming immediately that he's not the Raymond Reddington, and that is exactly what the showrunners are counting on. When he said, I was someone else, he doesn't mean in 1990. He doesn't mean that he wasn't the Raymond Reddington that did all those things. It's just that that's not his real name. And he gave us, when Liz was asking him when he was going to be killed, executed, they said, Liz was asking about who you were, and then he goes on about his mother and his father. And everybody thinks that he was just going on a tangent and ignoring the question. I think he was answering the question. I think he was telling that my father excommunicated me, like totally threw me away, and I had to become someone else. And he was already using a last name, not his, Reddington, to go to the Naval Academy because the father had completely disowned him.
Well, either way, there is something up with the whole Red's identity / name, all that.
Wait, what? There's something going on with that?
There's something going on there.
I missed something.
Whatever it may be, I think if Cooper knew it, he wouldn't have not said at least something. That is the point that I was trying to make.
I think that I can see us not seeing him say something to Reddington because something could be said off screen so that it's kept secret from the audience. My issue becomes, and the way Tessa just described it, yeah, I could see that, in which if you assume that Red that we know is Liz's biological father, and that Red that we know has also been Raymond Reddington for many, many years, and that he has lived in those shoes from, back before Liz was born. And if both of those things are accurate, I could see Cooper if he knew, letting it go. Now, if either of those things were false, either one of them, and he knew, I have a hard time believing he would keep that from Liz.
Yeah, I agree. That's what I'm thinking, that people tend to think is an either or. It's an either. Is either Red is not Red or he's not Reddington, and I think it's both. He is Red, he has been Reddington, and that's not his real name. He has been someone else. So that was my last thing about this. So I think with that, anything else about okay, so it's a Samar and a Ram time.
You also finished with your coffee? I feel like that was an extra sad face right there.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it was about the coffee or Samar.
Or both. So Whimsy is over on the other side of the world, so she was kind enough to get up at 7 a.m. her time to record this.
Earlier.
Oh.
Because we started this at 7,
true.
so I had woke up before that.
That's true.
I woke up at 6. Which is actually not the earliest I have woken up this week, funnily enough.
I woke up at 6 this morning, but that was because my cat decided he needed to play.
I'm an early riser. I sleep very little. I wake up at 5. So.
I need sleep.
Yep.
I'm a fan of sleep. Anyway, all right.
So.
Samar and Aram.
Oh, no.
It's interesting that this happened, and this probably was the reason why they have Samar in the water in the beginning when she wanted to leave the show.
Well, I was wondering about that, because in the lead up to these 2 episodes, where we weren't exactly clear on what was going to happen, or whether she was going to leave permanently or temporarily or what have you, I did say to some offline friends, if they knew that she was going to be leaving in the middle of the season, then I wasn't entirely sure why they did what they did at the end of season 5. Why didn't they just, have that happen and then have the trauma so bad that she left at that point, rather than having her supposedly get better and then go downhill again? My understanding from what I have read since then is that the decision for her to leave wasn't made until after they wrote and shot the end of season 5, which I think then answers that question. The impression I get, and I could be very wrong, is that what happened at the end of season 5 was written with the intent of her getting better, because we had Samar and Aram break up for a moment and then get back together and then be engaged, and then we had all this hype over the hiatus, which I'll come back to later possibly, about a Saram wedding this season, which we now won't have. So I feel like something changed after the end of season 5 was done, which is why we've then lost the Saram wedding and gone this track instead. So I'm not sure if they planned this at the time that they sorted the end of season 5.
Do you think that there was going to be a wedding? They don't do happy.
Well, I wasn't sure. Because, and I've said this on Tumblr, with every other show, I get a feeling of what it could or could not happen. But with The Blacklist, I've lost that because they've done so many insane things over the years. Every time I've thought they can't do whatever, it's too insane, they won't do that, they go and do it. And every time I think, surely this has to happen, it doesn't happen. So I've given up trying to definitively say I think this will happen or that won't happen, because I just can't feel for it anymore. I can't guess it anymore. I did think, and I think this is the one thing that really irked me more than anything else with this week's episodes, was that they gave us so much hype about the Saram wedding happening and then didn't give it to us. I feel like that was really mean of them, especially if they gave us all that hype knowing that it wasn't going to happen. If they had planned a wedding and then something changed, I could understand the mistake, but if they did it deliberately, that makes me really mad.
Well, John has been known to say that he would protect the Keane family and then murder Tom, so...
Yeah, exactly.
So...
They don't do happy. Happy doesn't exist for these people.
That's not inaccurate, but there's a difference in, and this is me. I told Whimsy when the rumors started, she and I had a talk, and I said, I am here for you, friend. I have been down this road, and it's going to hurt like hell, and if you need anything...
Well, that was the first thing I thought of when the rumors started. I was like, Jen is the one who will understand this pain.
Yeah, I've been there. It took me a year to get over it, and I'm still not over. Oh wait, no, I'm still not over it. Year and a half later.
Will you ever be?
No. The only time I will potentially be close-ish to it being over is if Tom pops up at the end, and then I'll go, I still am not happy with you people, but we're on the road to forgiveness. We're on the road to forgiveness. But. I mean, they have a habit, by they I mean John Bokenkamp, has a habit of saying things, and I don't know if he does it intentionally or if it's like what his plan is in that moment and things go differently. I don't know. I'm not in the writer's room. I'm not a fly on the wall as much as I would love to be, to know what is going on in there, because I think it would be a crazy adventure to hear that, but... I'm not there, so it's fine. But he'll say certain things like the Saram wedding, like, you know, oh, Ryan will be back if redemption doesn't work out. Hey, Ryan's back. Now we're killing Tom. You know, like they brought him back to murder.
He did come back. He just didn't stay back.
Yeah, protecting the Keane family. Anyway, but he has a habit of doing that. And so
he meant something different.
There's...
Okay, what different thing could there will be a Saram wedding possibly mean? There's no hidden meaning behind that.
Well, so you go into the opium den that Red goes to, and you hallucinate the Saram wedding.
When exactly did he say that? Was it in season 5?
In numerous articles over the hiatus.
The summer hiatus.
Between 5 and 6.
Yeah, but then that could have been before it was decided that she wanted to leave.
Well, and that's exactly what we're saying.
Up until just before season 6 started. And apparently the decision for her to leave was made over the summer.
Oh.
Wow. That's what I read in the Instagram post. Guaranteed I am still half asleep right now, but...
Nope, we can't bail John out of this one.
Yeah, well, it is... As people
can't bail
always
John
love
out of this
to,
one.
And a lot of the fandom drama always has to do with, but Bokenkamp said in an interview, and I always say, whatever you think he said, it's not what he said. And even if he said it, that's not what he meant. And if he meant it, that's not what it came out as.
I've just stopped reading or listening to any sort of Bokenkamp interviews because it's most of the time, well, no, all the time, what you think you're hearing is not accurate. He created Raymond Reddington. The man is talented at Red Speak.
Yep.
And for all we know, we could have a later episode this season where Aram hallucinates a Saram wedding, and boom, there we go.
He goes into the opium den.
Plus, remember that we don't really know where the ending is, because at this point they already got a season 7. Mm-hmm. So we don't know. She's not dead.
Yeah.
So for all we know, that she could even have let's even say that they go the route of a plastic surgery. Now they can bring another actress if she's not available.
I had someone ask me that same question about Tom the other day. If I thought that it was, and it's someone that listens to the podcast. I was trying to remember who it was. It's someone that listens to the podcast. So the question that you asked, that if I thought that it was possible that, that they would go that route with Tom and bring him back in the end so that Ryan wouldn't have to come on. I said, no. I think they would just use Ryan's endless reservoir of energy and bring him on the last couple episodes or something. But, I don't think it would be that difficult to bring Mozan back. Depending on what she's on, they would work with her schedule. They could bring her back for the last episode or so. You could have a really good last couple episodes that they brought everybody back.
Come back, though.
That would be the key, yeah. Because Ryan has been a very good sport about it, even though it wasn't his decision to leave. He's been an excellent sport about it because he showed up.
Samar was her decision.
Yeah, and so that would just depend on what was going on with her and if she was willing and if they chose to do it. If they felt like the writing was going there. And so, yeah. But I'm saying that the option writing-wise, the fact that they didn't kill her off, it does leave it open.
Yeah.
And I feel that her having gone into hiding at the end of 614, I feel like that can't possibly be the end of her story. There's no resolution there. The only way to resolve that story is for her to technically come back at some point. But it's just a question of, will she?
Well, now she has become another parallel of Katerina Rostova.
Yeah. Imagine that, another spy becoming another parallel to Katerina.
Yeah. So I'm going, and I posted in Reddit, but I haven't posted yet in Tumblr. I'm going through the stories that we've been told, because even though, we're on way past 100 episodes, and it seems like if you're getting a feel that the stories are being repeated, the stories have been repeated. You're not inventing this. They're the same stories. They're father stories, mother stories, sibling stories, romantic stories, betrayal and revenge. And you mix these things. You got good fathers, bad fathers, terrible fathers, bad mothers, good mothers, terrible mothers, even worse mothers. And they just keep mixing the same elements, and they're all coming into this mythology. But I thought it was an absolutely outstanding vehicle for Mozan in this last episode.
Yeah.
Oh, she was brilliant in it. I do have a question, though. Speaking of mothers, Whimsy, what was your reaction and feelings towards the whole baby mix-up and also her change of mind, Samar's change of mind?
I have had a lot of mixed feelings on the topic of a Saram baby for a long time, and I have been resisting writing an essay on the subject. So I was really concerned about the possibility of the show actually trying to address that subject. But then the way they ended up doing it in 613, 614, I was actually really pleased with the way they did it. It was beautifully done. It was a lot better than anything I had ever been expecting. So I was actually quite happy with that. That was one of the few things I was really happy with, because Samar has said as far back in season 3 that she didn't want children, that in her mind for women it was like having 2 full-time jobs, whereas men could have both and women couldn't. And I really liked at the time that she was bold enough to say that, because there is such a stigma and such a shame sort of put on women who make the decision not to have kids. And I thought it was very cool of the show to have this female character saying, nope, not interested. And so as much as a Saram shipper, let's be real here, a Saram baby would be absolutely adorable. I was also
a very, very pretty child.
Gorgeous child, and honestly, I could go on about that. But I was also hoping that they would follow through on what Samar had said in season 3. I felt that to then have her backtrack and change her mind without really going into detail on it would be disrespectful to her as a character after what she had said in season 3. My only exception to that would have been, and this is what I had thought going into this episode, and that's why this episode was handling of that is something I loved so much, was that knowing Aram is not the kind of guy who would make Samar do all the work if they had a kid. So if they had a kid, it would be more like they both had 1.5 jobs, because I feel like Aram would be the kind of dad who would be itching to get in there and do his part and then some. And I feel like Samar would figure that out, and I feel like the only way she would then have kids after what she said in season 3 was if she goes, yes, maybe I thought that about other guys, but with Aram I know it won't be like that. And that is basically what she said in this episode, was that, Aram changed everything, and now, she had changed her mind. She just couldn't have kids now. And so I was really glad to see it put exactly the way that it was put in this episode.
I thought it was very well handled.
It was very well handled.
And they all were really good about it. I mean, those scenes were powerful, emotional, without being maudling. And I am not a shipper, so I'm, anything that just thinks of too much sentimentality just gives me the creeps. But that was okay. I was actually okay. It was a pleasurable thing. And basically because it didn't end well, I realized that I am a bit of a masochist. There was sadist in there.
And then the bit at the end of season 3 where Aram finds her at the restaurant and they drink the wine anyway, that was just the beautiful way to finish that off.
That poor plant. I mean, was she drinking iced tea? Is that what or Coke or something? And he's like pouring... My first round of watching it, I thought there were 2 waters, but the second round, I'm like, that's a darker liquid. What did he just pour into that poor plant?
The plant will live, I'm sure. Might have even been a
nice
fake
and
plant.
refreshing. No more water, Posse. It's Coke here from now on. Bring on the sugar.
Oh my gosh. No, but that was such a sweet moment there, and honestly, I think that's why I think it made when she did leave even more poignant, because they made their decision together. I mean, things changed, and the situation changed, and I mean, I knew when she walked away, I was like, and she just lied to his face and she's gone, and it was made for. I mean, she was protecting him as much as he was trying to protect her. She was trying to protect him. And
so, who do you think was right? Was
I don't
it
think
a right decision?
I don't think there's a right or wrong there. I think it was 2 people desperately trying to protect the one that they love.
And neither of them could both succeed in that respect, because for both of them, protecting the other meant sacrificing themselves, which is the direct opposite of what the other was trying to achieve.
Exactly.
So it was a no-win situation.
Yeah, that scene in the woods was... And I'm like, Aram, realize, but this is goodbye. And it was, and as soon as they had that scene, I absolutely knew that this was going to be a parallel to Red and Katerina.
Well,
and can we talk about the cars?
Yes.
That was so much.
Just 2 seconds. So in the scene where she tells him, it's not like I'm ditching you. We're going to meet up here. And she leaves. I got the impression that Aram, for half a second, the briefest of beats, saw through that. And then he went, no, I'm going to trust her. I love this woman. I trust her. I'm going to trust her. That's stupid. She wouldn't lie to me. Because that's what Samar said a couple episodes ago. You always see the best in people. You assume the best. And so...
He always has hope, too.
One of the most intriguing things about the scene that was previous is, first, did we see the parallels when they're in the car accident to Tom and Liz?
Yes.
I mean, first, for once, there is a car being crashed and Rester is not in it. I mean, we gotta celebrate this.
It's a win for Ress.
Yeah.
And it was Aram finally driving after last season. He didn't know how to drive.
Yes.
He's gotten... I got the impression that when he was trained to go into the field, that he...
Yes.
He
also
received...
how to drive. Yeah. Because we saw him driving at the end of season 5 when Samar was missing.
Yeah.
But now Aram has his turn like wrestler, where he's driving a car and then it gets smushed.
Yeah. I mean, that was a pretty bad wreck there.
But
I jumped.
Rester is usually the one doing the smushing. So, good. This was a car that jammed into another, and it was not driven by Wrestler.
Gotta share the love a little bit. Now it's Aram's turn.
And how about the scene in the cabin? That was really badass.
That was great.
Samar's fight?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. It was good.
What I wanted to know was, what did she hit the assassin over the head with? Because it moved so fast you couldn't see what it was, and for a split second I was wondering if it was the snowshoe.
No, a poker from the fireplace.
It was the poker, okay.
That's probably smarter. It's probably heavier, than a snowshoe. But that would be really funny.
It was the snowshoe.
Oh, the snowshoe. I am not going out there with you like that. Oh.
And then the hospital scene was brilliant. The way they got into a hospital room, that was brilliant.
They had this really great teamwork thing going on for that whole episode.
Yeah, it was very nice. I just loved Aram when he slapped the kid's phone out of his hand. Stay in school.
The music thing, that was so good. I love that little scene.
Yeah, I love the stay in school. Aram just keeps getting, the entire episode, he kept getting hit with new stuff and just going, okay, let's do this. You could kind of see him pepping himself up, finding out that Samar had probably, what was it, dropped a token? Was that the phrase?
Yeah. Voted on killing people.
Yeah, and he was like, all right, moving on. Just
don't have time to worry about that right now. We'll come back to that.
Circle back around to that, hun.
Well, it was, and I wanted to talk, see how you guys feel about that, about, Levi and I mean, they were somewhat involved. If it was in a romantic relationship, it sounded to me more like a Gina and Tom than anything else.
Yeah, I think that Levi was probably much more interested in it. Well, I mean, because she came back to Levi at one point.
Yeah.
And so, I don't know. I think a lot of times, at least in spy shows, you have that very thin line between partners and romantic partners. Especially
and
in people
left.
Yeah, well, Levi got married. No, he broke up with
engaged.
the girl.
Engaged.
And then dropped the fiancé to try and go back to Samar. But
he did take the dome thing to save Samar. Which is incredible that, after that is like, now you're going to get killed.
Yeah, I mean, that was... I kind of got the impression that... I mean, I think they did it in part to bring him back, because it was a familiar face. I love him. I was kind of sad to see him die. I know you and I have had this conversation, Whimsy. I have this huge crush on Oded. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but I have had a crush on him for many, many years. And so every time he pops back up, I'm like, oh, yay. Yeah, I mean, like, I was sad to see him die, but only in the fact that he went as far as he did. Because he did go that far, yeah, Red, smother him.
I was disappointed that he became the villain, because as much as I don't like Levi, and I have never liked him, I was sad that he had to become the villain. I know when he came back, I was like, oh, Levi's back. But I was hoping that he would at least be an ally to
at least
Samar,
try.
and yeah, in whatever the storyline was going to end up being. And then he ended up being the bad guy, and I was so disappointed.
I think it would have made more sense if he had tried, but then you wouldn't have had that lovely conversation between Red and Levi that paralleled to Katarina. I mean, like, there was a definite reason for it, but character development-wise, it was a little shaky.
Well, I do understand it. I disagree there. I think that it was in the genre. It's totally expected.
Yeah, and that's a possibility.
She would. As soon as they said dementia, said, oh my God, she's toast.
And that's true. I mean, it might have just been that, like, we just don't have a choice. I mean, because he was telling Red, you know, we feel the same way about this. I don't want this, but there's no way around it. I mean, I guess the alternative would have been to have locked her basically in prison for the rest of her life. I mean...
Yeah, exactly.
It's... Put her on. I mean, and you know that wouldn't have stuck. I mean, Samar wouldn't have sat around that way.
Oh, no.
And so, I mean, but if anybody would have the ability to reverse something like that, realistically, people on the cutting edge of medical technology, I mean, Israel is. I mean, they have some top-notch scientists there that are coming up with insane steps through medical research, and... But apparently they didn't feel like wasting time. So...
Well, I think it was important that the story they're telling is the story of Red and Katarina. So the moment they went there, you knew where they were going. They were going for... And I think it made a lovely thing because they did it when they were paralleling Tom and Katarina. It gave one flavor of Katarina. Now they're paralleling with Samar. That's a very different flavor that you're getting. And I think when you start combining all this, it's like the people looking at the elephant from all these points of view. And the more points of view you're getting, the more you start understanding what the woman really was like.
Yeah.
And I love the way that Red killed
I was going to say,
by the way.
Did you...
It was the death of a traitor.
Yes, it was.
I mean, just like Mr. Grey in season 1.
Yep, like Newton Phillips.
Mm-hmm.
People who were betrayers of... And I always got the feel that Newton Phillips was also military, so that's an agent, an officer who becomes a traitor. That's not just the whatever something happens to this low-level employee. That's not Kaplan who got a bullet in the head like Ansel Garrick did for abusing the trust. That was a traitor's death.
Yeah. I actually saw that actor on a Brooklyn Nine-Nine episode a few weeks ago, and I was like, I had to look him up. I'm like, who is this man? He looks so familiar. Who is he? Oh my gosh, it's Mr. Grey!
Mm-hmm. That's right, he was on there.
Yeah.
But it's interesting with Levi now being dead, because I was saying this to Jen last night my time, that the only way for Samar to really come out of hiding is if they somehow manage to get the Osterman Umbrella Company to stop hunting her. And how exactly are they going to do that? And I would have thought that, yes, Levi has been the traitor in this sense, but as he said, he didn't really want to do it. And I would have thought that if they had any hope of cancelling the contract on Samar, that Levi would theoretically be an important part of that if they could manage to convince him to call it off. And now we don't have that option.
Well, I've been thinking about that through the day because, especially with my rewatch of it, because the two options that you and I discussed were convincing
I mentioned
someone.
4.
Okay.
4 options.
What would you like to say? The 4 options.
Oh, so it was either Samar gets better somehow, and therefore is no longer a threat, and they can prove that. Therefore, contract is called off. Either they take down Osterman. Either they convince the old guy who is arguing with Cooper, if they can convince him to call it off and he calls it off, or they take him down and then convince his replacement.
So I've been thinking about this through the day, and Red made the comment that he wanted to go at the Umbrella Company because of Katarina. Like, that's where his original hatred for them came from. And so I think we are going to see, I think the most reasonable approach, I mean, because if they just get one person from Mossad to call it off, someone else from Mossad is going to call it right back on. And then on the guy that just called it off, you know, and so that's kind of counterproductive. And so I think what they'll end up doing, what I would see them end up doing is going after the Umbrella Company themselves and dismantling, basically doing to them what I desperately wanted them to do to St. Regis at some point, and they never did. Drove me crazy, and they won't now that Tom's gone, but that drove me crazy. Like, if anybody should have been on the blacklist, it was St. Regis.
Well, you can't really take St. Regis down because St. Regis will always exist. You call it what you want, and maybe you shouldn't be taking kids off the streets or whatever. You should do maybe with a little more ethical way. But there is always going to be covert agents.
Oh, yeah.
And a covert agents that survive is a covert agent that is well trained.
I meant the organization that McCready started, not necessarily covert operatives out there, just St. Regis that are manipulating children. Yeah. And so...
Well, I think Gina took care of that.
Well, I don't know. I just always assumed Gina turned around and took it over. She's an opportunist. Mm-hmm. But regardless, I mean, that's neither here nor there. I do think that Red, I mean, because it's not just Samar, the Umbrella Company's on his radar. It's Katarina as well. So now there are 2 people probably relying on this organization
and
going down.
And probably more knowing Red.
Oh, yeah. Going down in, flames and burning to the ground. I feel like he will...
So that now we know that at one point, what we don't know is who was a Levi for Katarina.
Say what?
Who was Levi for Katarina?
You mean the parallel for Levi?
Yes,
okay.
And who was Red for and who was whoever that helped Katarina escape?
So there is that interesting moment there at the end, and honestly, I'm at a better place with Red personally, but I still find it very therapeutic when people, haul off and punch him or slam him into things. And
I was so not expecting Aram to do that.
Oh, I was. Like,
so
I like Jen non-violent demeanor in all these things. She never comes to 2 blows, but boy, she loves writing bad stuff.
I love how you think I don't. Bold assumption, my friend. Yeah. Not saying I do, not saying I don't. But anyway, I was expecting it because he was when we've seen Aram in that super heightened emotion, I mean, he pulled a gun on the head of the CIA. Yeah. When put in a highly emotional overrun of emotion sort of situation, excuse me, he reacts violently and through those emotions. He's
not the pushover they make him out to be.
No, he's
not
a very kind person, but you push him too far and you crack him and he's going to crack you. And that's so he's getting in Red's face, and he's right there, and that was the first thing for me. Once he was in Red's face, and all pretense of politeness had been washed away.
Oh, the look in his face was great.
Oh, I'm like, dude, you're gonna get your nose broken. Like, this is happening, waiting for it. Boom, there it is. But what I was gonna say was the comment that he made and the way that they situated the camera angles was beautiful. So Aram says, no, I can't be happy without you. And the scene, and I actually put up a gift set this evening, which broke my freaking heart doing it. I had to go make a fun GIF after it to get over it.
I haven't seen it yet.
Go look when we get done. It's heartbreaking. But with each word punctuating, we look at Red, and his whole expression is heartbroken, and then Liz looks like someone punched her in the gut. And Wrestler is the third one that just looks, he's like he's stealing himself so he's not going to break down with him. And I love that.
He's the one who knows exactly how it feels, because he's already lost Audrey.
And Tom.
Yeah.
Liz lost Tom, Rest lost Audrey, and we think Reddington lost Katarina. Whether he knows she's alive or if she is or what have you,
they can never be together. That's what he says to Levi. It was you manipulated Aram in order to, and now he has to live. Yeah. And that is exactly, they just told us what is Red thing. You have to live with knowing that it was your act.
He compromised our cupcake.
Yeah. Now they can't be ever together.
Yeah. And so the way that they shot that scene with him saying that and it going around to the three people that knew so deeply what that meant and that Aram was joining them in that was just absolutely heartbreaking. It was so painful.
And that's what I've been saying for a long time. Mm-hmm. You know, Aram had to join the ranks of the damaged.
I was really hoping he wouldn't. I mean, I know that he had to eventually, but I was so hoping that he wouldn't.
I mean, they all the cupcake through bad things, and even Cooper. You know, Cooper has also not the same kind of bad things, but bad things. Mm-hmm. So they're all damaged, and Aram was like this little ray of sunshine. And and you know, at the end, the darkness took him on. I mean, the darkness. The thing with anything that has to do with espionage and agents is like there is no redemption. There is no light. There is just more darkness.
And now, in the promo for the next episode, we see Aram is at war with Red. And I am so nervous to see how that is going to end up going, because we know more than likely Samar is not going to come back. So what exactly is this war with Red going to achieve?
So, I actually was thinking about this after the episode last night. On a podcast that I listened to, they were talking about some negotiations that are happening. It has nothing to do with the Blacklist. But the question that they asked the person that was on their podcast was that, you know, when basically how far is pushing something too far where it creates damage that you can't get over? You know, if you're, you know, want to be friends at the end of it, if you want to be allies at the end of it, how far can you push that other party before it's irreparable damage?
Yeah.
And I started thinking about that right after the show last night, that they, you know, it happens with characters all the time. That happens in the writing, that we're about to see how forgiving Red is. And not just how forgiving Red is, but will Aram even want to be? You know, like, I could see Red at the end of it, depending on how far Aram pushed it, going, you were not in the right mind. You know, I'm not your enemy, but I understand why you are putting it on me. I could see him doing that. But will Aram feel that way himself? from his point of view, is he going to look at it and see Red as the enemy, continue seeing Red as the enemy, or will he say, you were just taking Samar's wishes and making it possible, making sure she was safe doing it? Which, I mean, it's all up in the air. Like I said at the beginning, I don't think anybody was right or wrong, particularly. I think that Red was doing what he could, and I think that Aram is incredibly hurt right now. And so, like, it's all from points of view of the characters. But how far is too far in which Aram doesn't want that relationship repaired? And, you know, what happens then?
Well, he said in the episode, I will never forgive you for what you just did.
Yeah.
That's what he said to Red.
But, I mean, there's never forgiving him, and then there's making him an enemy. And so, I mean, Tom worked with Red not liking the man. Every time they worked together, Tom never particularly liked him, and vice versa. But they were able to put aside their differences and do the thing when they had common goals. And so I could see it going that, you know, they get to a place where they're able to continue doing that, and it kind of becomes that subtly, you know, subtle animosity.
I'm going to shock both of you. I think that Aram is going to become Red's the closest of them.
Shocking. Aram's number 1 on the blacklist. Plot twist.
No. The most shocking. The closest to Red. Because they're being bonded by... Liz and Wrestler has suffered death of the person they love. Red and Aram have suffered the person they love having to go away for something they did because they trusted the wrong person. I pretty much guarantee that's where they're going.
They just have to make up to get to that point, though.
Have to earn it. Yeah, and so,
that's, I mean, going to be the interesting part, how we're getting to that from what's going to happen in next week's episode.
Exactly. It's how far are they pushing it?
Well, this is we've been told, and we can see what's going to happen with Aram because that part of Red's life we know. He went on a revenge, a scorched revenge that left him lost in the dark, hideous, and unable to see the light. And we know that Aram is going to get there, and at the end, I think that they will see that they're just the same.
It'll be interesting if Red steps in like he did with Wrestler, with Mako Tanita. And so, because you had Liz is the one that stopped him from killing Jonico, I think was his name.
Bobby Jonica.
Jonica, thank you. But, I mean, when he delivered the head to him, there was that whole conversation, and the one at the river, you know, in which Red was trying to express crossing that line. And so it'll be interesting if instead of being angry, Red does the same thing with Aram, and it helps heal rather than hurt. I don't know. It just, for Red, it depends on his mood. If he's more forgiving or he's...
learn what happened to Katerina.
It might be. But, I mean, sometimes it depends on his mood. I mean, it's more than just that. But it feels like it depends on his mood, if he reacts violently or if he reacts in patience.
In this episode, we actually got a fair amount of parallel backstories about Red, you know, by having...
I feel like we got more in the second episode. I was expecting to get quite a bit about Red's backstory from the Robert Vesco episode.
Call him Ray.
Yeah, but we didn't get nearly as much as I thought. Real fast before I forget, though, because I didn't mention this when we started it. The Osterman Umbrella Company, do you know what number on the blacklist they were?
6.
Either 6. 6.
Yeah, they
one
were
was 6 and one of them was 9.
They are the lowest. Tom has been the lowest on the list for 6 seasons.
No.
Well, since season 2, so for 5 seasons.
Kate is number 4.
Is she?
Yeah.
Oh, never mind. Scratch that. I thought Tom would
I
be
do have a list written out somewhere.
Yeah.
Kate is number 4. Tom is number 7. Now we got number 6.
Mm-hmm. Never mind. Scratch that.
And Robert Vesco is number 9. But the numbers are telling a story. Being first on the list doesn't mean much, except that that's how the story starts. And the story is going to start by him and Katerina. So,
Kat will be number 1 on the blacklist.
I hadn't thought of it that way. Well, I've been trying to figure out what the system was for numbering, and a lot of people sort of had the idea in the air that it was to do with, the lower the number on the list, the more dangerous they were, and that doesn't seem to have worked out.
They're not.
But I hadn't thought of it that way. That it goes back to timing and this. Yeah.
It's not even. It's a story that we're being told the story in the numbers. So the way that the blacklister is described is the way it's the point in the story. For example, Tom is an incredibly talented operative. When we get, for example, to the description of Scotty, it's a creature, a manipulative creature whose own husband couldn't trust her. And then that is followed by the Capricorn killer, a creature that is able to survive in hostile environments. So those are the ways. It's a story that is being told to us in the blacklisters. I've cracked the code. I'm just not talking about it much. It was a lot of work.
Well, I mean, I think that's. Do you guys have anything else to add?
No, I'm happy the way they took Samar. I mean, that scene on the plane was beautiful. I'm going to forget everything, but I'm never going to forget you.
That hurt.
That was beautiful. Yeah, that was a beautiful thing.
I think I will forever be both happy and sad about it because, I mean...
She was so brave.
Yeah, and I was really worried going into this episode about how they were going to handle Samar's departure because it had to happen. But I was worried about how it was going to happen, and they did a beautiful, beautiful job of it, much better than I was expecting. Because, and I think I've said this to Jen before, I've sort of lost faith in the way these writers have handled a lot of things. So going into the episode, I was skeptical, and I will say now in hindsight for these last few episodes that I am very pleasantly relieved at how well they handled the whole thing. It was a lot better than anything I expected. But at the same time, Samar is my favorite, and now she's gone, and I am devastated. Absolutely devastated.
The way you just described it is how I feel about 508. They gave me the Red and Tom conversations that I'd been waiting since season 1 to get. They gave us flashbacks that showed that he had always loved Liz. They gave him a scene where he fought with his own life for Liz. I mean, everything about the episode screamed something that I would love in the episode. And what I've said again and again is I would love 508. I would even love the car scene with them, with Tom saying that he can't live without her, if he had survived. But the fact that he is gone kills everything else in that episode for me. In so many ways. But that also
not being a shipper has definite advantages.
Well, no.
But at the same time, there were a lot of personal headcanons and wishes I've had for Saram that were all ticked off by these last 2 episodes that I was really pleased to see. I wish we had got all of them earlier, but we did get some eventually. Like we got Aram bringing her breakfast in bed, which is something I've always thought would totally happen, and I was so glad to see we actually got that.
I do have a question, though. I do have a question about that. And so, we have seen Aram cook multiple times. What was this man doing with breakfast that he was starting 2 grease fires? Why is he inept at breakfast?
Maybe he's not a morning guy?
Well, he said in a previous episode he's not a morning person.
Okay, I guess that's the explanation.
It was only a few episodes ago he said that. He said that specifically.
There's my answer. He was still asleep.
See, my headcanon was always that Aram was not a good cook. So, I know we've seen him cooking, but have we seen him do it well is the question.
That's fair. That's fair.
Well, at least it's not Liz that burns pancakes made out of...
Liz burns
that come
waffles.
out of a box.
Liz burns frozen waffles.
Yes. I mean, that's hard to do.
Well, she did try to cook them in a pan on the stove.
Who does that?
Yeah, but it's also like the story of the cold spaghetti. I mean, the woman is a disaster.
I mean, she did...
Well, Aram did have...
I was going to say, in Liz's defense, she did manage... Well, we think she managed to make those noodles all right in season 4. Tom could have been lying straight to her face because he loved her when he said they were better. But I like to believe that Tom wouldn't have even lied about
Whatever she was eating in that cabin in Alaska did not look appetizing. That soup. That was probably just, okay, this is nutritious, and that's it.
I'm pretty sure that the only reason Liz ate things that were not takeout was because she married Tom Keene. Like, she's more likely to starve to death than anything else at this point.
Yeah. So I think that pretty much covers. I think it was a beautiful send-off of a character.
I just take a moment to appreciate Samar's face when Aram said there might be a piece of his finger in the orange juice. Because that was delightful.
I liked the bit where he said, "Okay, we've got French toast and browns. All of your favorites. Those are none of my favorites." Yeah.
So that happened?
Say what?
What?
That those were not her favorites?
No, she
said that.
Yeah, she said...
Aram said it's all your favorites, and Samar goes, so none of my favorites, but I love you anyway.
I also... we can't leave this episode without making a comment about the "you're tall."
Yes, I was so glad they brought that back.
You are tall. I love how that's become the stand-in for how beautiful she is. That was so sweet and so perfect. And the little kiss she blows him there. Like, you were such a nerd, but I love you.
Well, it's been, and I do want to say, it's been a very interesting character development for Samar. I mean, she started this really hard ass. It almost feels like she was sent to get Reddington by the Mossad in order to get her to work with Reddington. That's my feel for it. And, she's going through this hard things, and she was working for Mossad, was working for the FBI. And yet, at the end, they brought her into a character development that was really interesting. So I thought it was great.
Yeah. I mean, she's always been a hard ass, but I've always thought that she's got that big sort of inner softy on the inside, and it's not so much that she's changed, but more that Aram has just brought that out a little more.
He's given her a safe space to be able to. I mean, with her past and all the trauma that she's been through, I could see where she'd put up a lot of walls.
Yeah,
well, she knew that the Osterman company was coming for her. Eventually one day, if she even stepped the wrong way. Did you guys notice that Osterman is the same name that the guy in Elias Surkov, the real agent, had?
No. I didn't put that together.
Brian Osterman.
I did not put that together.
They do like repeating names on this show.
They do. How many Toms have we had?
And how many Kates?
About 7. Oh, Kate and Catherine and all those things, we are about 17.
It confuses me every time.
We've only had one Jennifer, so I'm okay.
No, we're not. We have had a few minor characters
We've had
named
a couple.
Jennifer.
Yeah.
Yes.
Really?
The cop that was killing people in Miss Rebecca Thrall was Jennifer.
Was she? Okay.
And there was a couple of minor characters called Jennifer.
Apparently Jennifer is synonymous with murder. Who knew? All right.
I'm not sure I want to know what Kate is synonymous with.
I think of Kate Kaplan with with The Blacklist.
The name means purity, so I'm sure we'll get interesting things about Catherine in there. And the funny thing that nobody has mentioned is that Aram knows about Dom.
He does too. But does he know who Dom is?
No, but
I don't think he's made that connection.
He tracked Red there, and Red was not pleased to see him there. So that is something that he can put in something that whatever that was, I'm sure that I can exploit that.
And you know what? Dom's coming back, so maybe he does some research and tells Liz to get back at Red. That would be interesting. That might be on the
nice twist in Aram's war against Red.
And that might be on the unforgivable side, because people that get anywhere close to that tend to end up dead.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry,
it's definitely going to be very interesting what's going on. So, do we have anything else?
All right. Well, I'm sorry to see Samar go, but I was happy to have Whimsy on the episode. Thank you for coming, Whimsy.
And I didn't cry. I was expecting to cry on this podcast, and I did not.
You know, you were smiling. It was better than what I did in 508, where I just sat there like a catatonic, bumbling idiot.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's before alternating with definitely murderous impulses, yes.
Oh, no, that was later. No, the complete, like, utter blankness was, because it was, that was on Thursday nights, and I think we recorded the podcast, like, that Friday, and I've still not done a full rewatch of 508. I never will.
Oh, it's so good.
I think it helps that I am half asleep and I haven't quite got through the less than whimsical stages of grief yet. I'm not totally angry yet.
Well, she's
but
not
I will get there.
She's just gone away, and now she can come back.
I'm skeptical that she will. I'm not convinced that she will come back. I would like her to come back, but that's not the same.
Well, now you gotta stick with Aram, and now that he has joined the club of the broken hearts,
and I can write all the fix-it fix now.
Yeah, fix-it fix are the way to handle it. That's how I handle it.
Already plotting one.
Yes. All right.
I think it's just helping me with the smiles that there is a dog sitting right behind this computer here who keeps jumping on me. As noisy as it has been when he keeps dropping the ball on my computer, and I feel bad for you when you have to edit that, but...
I'm not sure that'll be editable, but he just wants Tessa and I to throw the ball for him.
So he does. He's coming to say hello. He's now sitting just behind the camera glaring at me because I stopped throwing the ball.
All right. Are we...
What's the problem with you? You got a problem? Throw the ball.
He was dropping it on the computer. It was being noisy. There we go.
So do we have anything else to add?
No, I think it was a great episode.
All right, then you can catch us on YouTube, iTunes, and SoundCloud, and you can talk to us on Facebook, Tumblr, and Twitter.
And if you are interested in talking with Whimsy, please tell us how we can get to you.
You can find me on Tumblr at Whimsyandsomething.
All right, and so until next week.
Until next week.